Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now we are all on a pilgrimage towards this mythical place called Chap Nirvana, and there's often many questions that we have that'll help us along our journey. Now I'm here to try and help you with those questions, and just recently I ran an opportunity on my community page on the Facebook channel for people to pose me some questions, and I'm going to answer those today. Okay, so it's my opportunity to help you with the queries and thoughts that you're having. Just a reminder, I'm not an expert, these are just my own personal thoughts. So let's begin. There's a whole mixed bag of questions here today. So Mark Fowler asks me, do you have any recommendations for scarves and gloves for your outfits? Let me guess, Soho scarves and South Coombe gloves. Okay, you second guessed me a bit there, and you are partially right. So scarves and gloves, they're great accessories, particularly as we head into autumn and winter, because not only are they functionally wonderful, because there's nothing like having warm hands, and the scarf adds a lot of warmth to the upper body, particularly if you're wearing an overcoat which has an open sort of chest area on it, but they allow you to accessorize your clothing as well. Leather gloves always add a bit of panache, and of course a scarf allows a pop of color. But I'm not going to recommend Soho scarves, because Soho scarves are more decorative in nature. They tend to be silk or polyester, more cravatty type things. My favourite scarf house at the moment is a place I visited, a factory tour earlier this year, and it's of all places not known for their scarves, it's known for their socks, their hosiery. It is corgi socks. Factory in Wales, and when I went to their factory store I saw that they also make the most amazing cashmere scarves. Now they are cripplingly expensive, you know, they're in excess of £300 for these amazing cable knit cashmere scarves, and the weight on them, I mean it was awesome, and the feel, the softness, is the best cashmere in the world. But if you've got that sort of money and you can afford to splash it on a scarf, or you can go to the corgi factory store in Southwest Wales, you can get them at an amazing knockdown price. But I'm not going to say Soho scarves because that's more of a decorative summer scarf. I'm going to say corgi. And for gloves, South Coombe gloves are my go-to glover. Okay, so that is a traditional heritage glove making factory run company here in Somerset where I live. And they make amazing gloves in their factory. I think it's in Crew Kern, which is not 30 miles from where I sit now. However, about 30-40 miles away, there's also Dent's gloves, which are arguably the finest gloves in the world. So if you want to go somewhere for your best gloves, and if you want to get into the best gloves, Peccary leather gloves by Dent's have the reputation for being the world's finest gloves, as worn by the royal family, so give it a go. Okay, next question from Josh Miller. Hopefully not too dull a question, I'm sure not, sir. It relates to shoe maintenance. I'm keen to learn the signs of a worn out sole and when I should consider replacing mine. Any recommendations of when a good quality re-shoaling should take place? Okay, when you wear a leather soled shoe, you're always on a journey towards that sole wearing out. Because they do, and leather soles do tend to wear out that much more swiftly than say day-night or commando soles or some other form of rubber composite sole. But when it comes to a leather sole, this is one of the beauties of maintaining your footwear regularly and yourself, because if you're like me, on a Sunday night you might get your shoes out that you're going to wear for the week ahead to make sure they're looking their best. I might put an extra layer of polish on them, brush them up, whatever is necessary. But in that maintenance regime that I undertake, I also look at the soles. And a good way with leather soles to check if they're doing well is to just put your hand, or just press down on the center of the sole at what would be the ball of your foot, so the largest part of the sole. And if you feel a softness, and it'll be apparent, it's hard to describe a sensation of touch, but when you press it, you will feel a distinct softness. And that's an indication that the sole has worn right down and it's likely to break through. So when the outer layer of that leather breaks through and it'll expose the cork bed underneath, it's a little bit too late then. You can still have it repaired at that point, of course you can. But the goal is to catch it before the leather actually breaks through. You can start to see signs, but you can certainly start to feel signs. And when you push down, you can feel there's almost like a hollowness, because that leather has worn away to such a point that it's less than paper thin, and there's no resistance to the touch. That is when you're at the point just before the leather breaks through to the cork bed. That's when you want to get it resoled, before you go through. If it does break through, it's not a problem. They can still repair it, but preferably for the long-term maintenance of the shoe, catch it just before that point. Okay, next one here. This is from, let's have a look, H. Fay Boy Will. Good long name there. Could you tell us about dress canes? Can it be equipped by a younger chap? Okay, so question about dress canes. It's a hard one to answer because I have never used a dress cane. And the reason for that is because they've kind of fallen into abeyance in the style world right now in the 21st century. Clearly, people don't tend to walk around the streets with dress canes. And, you know, when I walk around London, I was in London very recently, I don't think I saw anybody, even in London, the most sartorial city in the world, a gentleman wearing or walking around with dress canes for the purpose of display, right? Some people you'll see carrying a walking cane, clearly because they need the assistance with balance or to assist with maybe an injury. But a dress cane designed within itself purely for ornamentation, purely, you know, with a fancy head of the cane with some sort of ornament on there. I have to say, I very rarely ever see such a thing in the world today. If you do carry a dress cane, I would suggest you are immediately going to draw attention to yourself for maybe the wrong reason. Now, if you're trying to cultivate an aesthetic of maybe a vintage look or steampunk or something of that nature, the dress cane is going to fall within that category, all right, for sure. You're going to be fine carrying it because you're already knowing that people are going to single you out and look at you because you're dressing in a way that's going to be the case. But if you're a modern man trying to dress in a contemporary style today and you carry a dress cane, I would suggest it's akin to wearing a top hat. It's quite simply something which isn't done in the modern era, and you are going to attract the attention of those around you for maybe a purpose which you're not going to be happy with. You know, unless you're seeking to be that, you know, that very sartorially vintage dressed individual, and that's what you're looking to transmit that message to people, it's going to be fine. But otherwise, play it very carefully, because you're going to look like a caricature from somebody from, let's be honest, the 19th century. Even in the 20th century, the dress cane sort of fell out of use. Here in the 21st century, heading into the quarter point of the 21st century, it's just not a thing which is used. So be careful about where you apply it to your outfit, because you're going to send the wrong connotations to people. But if that's your thing, go for it. Okay, longer one now from Frank V. Hello, chap. I don't like dress shoes, much less loafers or boat shoes, as I am just beginning my journey into the quest to find Chap Nirvana. I do have a fascination for Oxford dress boots, Chelsea and checker boots. I have a collection consisting of Crockett & Jones, Carmina, R.M. Williams and Alan Edmonds, all Goodyear welted. I paired them with different coloured chinos, untucked cotton shirts with my sleeves rolled up. That's the most formal I go for now. My question is, I want to start my suit journey for casual wear. I'm planning on getting my first 2 suits in navy and charcoal grey, but I would like to know if it's acceptable to wear suits with Oxford boots with wingtip and brogues, like regular dress shoes, but with no ties and cufflinks, and a few buttons undone at the neck. Also, I don't think dress leather watch straps. I just like to wear stainless steel. What's your take on that? What you're describing is really the modern gentleman's take on a more classic dress style. Nothing what you suggest here, I think, falls outside the boundaries of what is acceptable in the modern world. So in essence, you're saying you're moving into a more well-dressed sort of environment in your life, a different part of your journey to Chap Nirvana. And that's what most people do. We all start off, perhaps being part of the herd, and then we want a bit more confidence. We want to win a bit more self-esteem. So we start to dress more sartorially, as you've described here. You've chosen some excellent quality boots, Crockett and Jones, superb, British, best stuff you can. Carmida, Spanish, the best they make. R.M. Williams, Australia, fantastic. And Alan Edmonds, America's finest. So you've got a few continents covered there, good choice. Goodyear welted, going to last for years. They are expensive. All of these shoes are not cheap to buy, but they're going to be repairable. You can wear them for many years. So you've made some great initial investment decisions with your wardrobe that will pay you off. Chinos and tucked shirts, button-down shirts, great. Can't fault that. Now you're talking about entering into another sphere of style when you're wearing a suit. And you've asked the question, is it acceptable to wear boots basically, or dress boots, Oxford style dress boots? Oxfords, of course, just refers to the lacing style on the shoe or the boot. Just instead of having the flaps, which we often find on a derby style boot, we have an integrated lacing system, which we find on the Oxford style. It's a little bit more classy, a little bit more finished, and more appropriate for what you're talking about. With broguing, absolutely. I mean, in the old sense, where men used to wear suits when the modern lounge suit first became fashionable in the UK, that's where the expression suited and booted originally came from, because you would typically wear a boot with your suit. And I think it's entirely appropriate in the modern world, as long as you choose the right boot. Don't be wearing some sort of industrial or agricultural style boot. Wear a boot which is more akin to a shoe but has a boot style to it. So a dress boot, an Oxford style dress boot. Make it more of a shoe last, so in other words the shape of the boot, rather than many boots tend to have a more rounded toe because they're considered to be more casual. If you choose a dress boot, make sure it has more of the oval shaped toe of a shoe, and it will be absolutely fine, no problem at all. And if you're wearing, let's have a look, navy or a charcoal grey suit, and you want to buy one type of boot which is going to fit in perfectly with both of those colours, I would go for a burgundy, something like that. It will be beautiful in a boot, and you can also then wear that boot with your casual clothes as well. You can wear it with your chinos, you can wear it with jeans even. So you've got a very good catch-all, versatile, chameleon boot which will see you right. When it comes to wristwatches, you talk about you don't like leather strap watches, you prefer to wear stainless steel. I'm kind of 50-50. I mean, if you're going very formal, I mean, I'm wearing a shirt today with a double cuff, so a French cuff. I'm wearing a wristwatch which has a leather strap because for me, it's a little bit more in keeping with the sartorial look that I'm going for today. But on another day, I might equally wear, a stainless steel wristwatch with a stainless steel bracelet. It's entirely appropriate for the situation. But for me, when I'm wearing formal clothing, with certainly a shirt with a French cuff, I tend to go for, if I can, a leather strap, slips underneath a little bit easier. But if you've got a wristwatch which matches the style, so you have said here, stainless steel bracelets such as Rolex, Breitlings and Omegas. Well, Breitlings tend to be very big watches. They make very few what I would describe as dress style watches. So if you're wearing a stainless steel bracelet watch, make sure it's not some massive diving piece, because then it's not going to sit naturally with that stylish suit that you're wearing. Just my opinion though. Okay, moving on. Question from Daz D. How do you transition from being a slobby heavy metal t-shirt wearing scruff to a well-dressed chap about town? Is gradual the way to go, or just go all in? Ooh, well, I'm going to say gradual is the way to go, because if you suddenly go from being a heavy metal t-shirt guy to a three-piece suit guy, it's going to be too much of a culture shock for you and your friends and associates. They're going to think, what the hell's going on with Daz D? He's had some sort of aneurysm and he's gone back in time 2 generations. What I suggest you do, and I've used this reference in the past, I refer to a thing called the style volume, right? And imagine it as the volume knob on your, however you listen to your music, on a record player or whatever. And you imagine that the most casual you can be, probably what you're describing, slobby, heavy metal t-shirt guy, to be 0, all right? And then you turn it all the way up to 10, and number 10 is the tuxedo, all right, the black tie, the smartest you can be. Somewhere in the middle is your journey from A to B, all right? So turn it up 1 click, and instead of wearing, a heavy metal t-shirt, start wearing a polo shirt. That little bit of a collar, a little bit more style, it's going to turn you up a little notch. Instead of wearing, jeans, scruffy jeans, maybe with holes in them, wear nice coloured dark denim jeans, which are sort of tailored to fit you a bit better. In 1 increment, you've gone up a nice little move. You've become a little more stylish. Instead of wearing trainers, wear desert boots or chukka boots. Or if you're into the trainers, wear a white leather trainer with no logos on it, something stylish and sleek. 1 little click. Then you can, when you're comfortable with that level, turn it up a level. Then you can go from jeans to chinos, from sneakers to chukka boots, from your polo shirt to a button-down collared cotton shirt. And you can keep moving your way up until you get to a point that you feel comfortable. And I think moving up gradually, replacing items from your wardrobe as you buy them and they wear out, and perhaps you move into another sphere of comfort in your style of clothing, that is the natural way of improving your dress style. So if you jump straight into wearing a suit, it's all a bit too much. Take it slow. Okay, next question. This is from DKO, and they ask, cavalry twill trousers. For some unknown reason, this subject came up in conversation in the office. What is cavalry twill, and is the material still used much today? Well, cavalry twill is not any specific material itself, it is a style of material. And it's basically characterized by a distinctive weaving pattern within the material itself. Now, cavalry twill can actually be, the term or the material can be weaved or woven from cotton, wool, even synthetic materials. And it is the way that it is woven which gives life to this term cavalry twill, because it's where the material is overwoven to give quite a distinctive diagonal pattern to the material. It's called cavalry twill because it was originally used in the military world in the old days of, the King's Own hussars and things like that. And the reason it was used by the military, as is often the case, is because it's very hard wearing. However, it's still got quite a smooth and smart appearance. So ideally suited for the military because they need things which are tough but also can look good in a uniform. So cavalry twill, associated with the military over time, and it is just the style of material. Now, it's very commonly found in trousers these days. If you look on sort of specialist trouser manufacturers, they will often offer their routine trousers, their standard sort of grey slacks, things like that, in a cavalry twill. It's a good choice to make. That's why it was chosen by the military. It is tough, it is rugged, yet it's also smart and functional. It can hold a nice crease and it can look good for over a prolonged period of time. It's quite thick material, so it's no good for the, if you're living in a subtropical climate. But if you're in a sort of temperate climate, northern hemisphere, it's going to be a perfect pair of utility trousers for day-to-day use, or wearing with a blazer. Grey flannel cavalry twill slacks going to look great with a blazer. And as I say, can be found in cotton, wool, even synthetic blends. So good choice to make. So hope I shed some light on it there for you. My final question today, this is from BBJQ9, up. Advice please, Ash, for men nearing 40 on how to gently transition their clothing collections to suit the more distinguished gentleman in this modern era. So there we go. Some sort of fashion advice for men over 40. Do you know what? I remember approaching 40 and thinking it was a landmark point of my life. I'm 53 now, and I look back to 40 and think to myself, my God, I was still quite young then. You know, I was still a young man. So if you're 40, don't be giving up on life. Don't be talking about you're a distinguished gentleman, right, at 40. You are still in your younger years, and you don't need to start wearing a three-piece tweed suit and acting like an old gentleman, all right? It's a bridging age. Between 40 and 50 should be the best years of your life. You're in your physical prime to a degree, maybe starting to wane a little, but you're still there. But your maturity is at its height. Everything's in your favour. So don't feel like a distinguished gentleman at 40. You're still very young. However, I take your point. You are starting to think that I want to dress more like a man of where I have reached in life, or a man of advancing maturity, maybe successful. You know, you've been in work, probably working life, career behind you. You're starting to become a leader, perhaps in your field. You've achieved expertise and knowledge. People look to you now to be a mentor, maybe in the workplace. You want to dress appropriately for those situations. You're maybe a father, and you've got a few kids who are starting to come of age at 40, where they're looking up to you. So you don't want to be seen as the dad wearing, as has been said earlier, you know, the slobby heavy metal t-shirt. You want to look more respectable for the kids, to see you as that sensible dad figure. So yeah, and very much the answer I gave to Daz D earlier could be applied here. Think of wherever you are in life at that style volume. If you're at level 3 right now because you already wear, you know, a button-down collar shirt and chinos and chukka boots, you can turn it up a level. You can start, you know, wearing a nice dress shirt and a pair of cavalry twill slacks instead of your chinos if you want to look a bit smarter with your personal situation. Another thing to do, and this is an interesting angle you might take, you might have an icon out there, maybe somebody who you like the look of or the way that they dress in the media world, right? Somebody who's well known. Might be, I don't know, shall we say David Beckham? I guess he's in his early 40s, all right? So you might look at David Beckham and say, do you know what? I like the vibe, the aesthetic that David Beckham throws off. He's often seen wearing a suit, you know, two-piece suit, single-breasted, you know, very smart, wears shirts without ties sometimes he wears shirts with ties, sometimes he wears a waistcoat. He's got quite an interesting diversity of style going on with his look. You might say to yourself, I like what David Beckham is doing. I wouldn't mind, you know, hitting the similar vibe, but within my own price point. I accept David Beckham is worth hundreds of millions of pounds. He can, you know, get bespoke suits made for him. Us ordinary guys, we can look at his aesthetic and say, I can recreate that on the high street or from eBay at a very approachable price point. However, we can use him as a mentor, a style mentor. So look up David Beckham at age 40, say as a heading on Pinterest. See what comes up, and you can say to yourself, okay, well, I'm liking that look, I'm liking that look. I'm going to order or going to go and look for on eBay a tweed waistcoat. I'm going to get myself one of those. I'm going to pair it with a button-down pink shirt, and I like it. I can apply that to my life using David Beckham as a style icon to help flavour your style decisions. And you can do that at any age. If you're 70 and you want to be still stylish and relevant at 70, pick somebody who's 70 or thereabouts, or has been 70 in the past. You know, you can say, I like Sean Connery when he was 70 years of age. Look up that on Pinterest or some other image searching website. See what he was doing when he was your age. See what took your eye, and then apply that to your situation. Use those style icons as style mentors on your journey to Chap Nirvana. So there we go, gents. I hope you've enjoyed this video on my answers to some of your questions. Now don't forget, if you want to ask me a question, you can drop it into the comment section below, or you can send me an email. Email address is on the screen now. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, subscribe. If you'd like to support the channel and keep these videos coming, you can buy me a coffee or you can become a patron. In both both of those situations, I provide additional content for the people who support the channel by way of podcasts and by way of additional videos. So look into those. The information on how to do so is in the show notes below this video. So until the next time, take some of these answers and apply them to your lives today to improve your pilgrimage to Chap Nirvana. And I will see you again very soon.